Well, hello and welcome back to From the Depth. This is your host Eric and you are watching the next part of the Yamato Refit. This is the Yamato battleship, and as one of you thankfully explained to me in the comments, I don't know if I misunderstood and thought it was like half size of the Yamato. Oh, sorry, I'm just not that good at statistics and sizes for real battleships, but I will be very soon. But anyways, it's not. It's twice as large. That's what it's called, the Big Yamato. So thanks for that clarification. And if you are wondering why I'm going to be good at that, is that I have started to write a pretty big document about ship classifications and ship naming conventions, and those will be made into Steam guides, of course. So keep tuned for that if you want to get real nerdy into From the Depth and ships and naval stuff in general. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Today, as you can guess, we are obviously going to fix the maneuverability and, well, stabilization, propulsion, stuff like that. So propulsion and maneuverability we're gonna do in this little episode here. Remember to stay tuned so you can catch the other episodes when they come out. We are obviously having some problems with tilting, and yes, I did remove those rudders, so now it has no roll stabilization at all. And the really weird way we can do roll stabilization on is of course using lead in the bottom, but I think we're gonna go with a powered solution instead, because adding weight will of course affect the speed of the craft, which is not optimal. In any case, for those of you who think that I can be a little bit harsh on the criticisms on what needs to be fixed, well, I have to say what needs to be fixed, you know, to be able to explain why we are doing those changes. Naturally, I think the aesthetical design and the general shape of this ship is super amazing, and I think Martin did a really good job at that. Also, I do not expect Martin to make an amazing battleship just jumping into From the Depth after not touching it for a couple of years. Like most of us that are participating in tournaments and people that send in stuff to the Gimle battles and stuff, they probably have like at least 1,000 hours in the game, so I mean, it's nothing like that. I understand Marty's a comedian and he does that great, and a lot of us are really invested in From the Depth, and yeah, we're big nerds, so obviously we have a lot of knowledge about stuff, and you know, that takes time and it's nothing I would expect. This game can be pretty hardcore. It's like, I don't think you can play From the Depth and 15 other games, probably what Mart does, you know? And if you are gonna play From the Depth and be really good at it, you probably can only play like 2 other games or something like that. Yeah, at least under your learning period. We should at least get into here and fix this here. So, fortunately, the stabilization we are going to incorporate does not really rely on the AI. I find it more beneficial to have it a separate system, basically. So that is what we're going to have. We are also playing the alpha test here, so we have some additional camera controls that may not be out. You can see there is a little user interface in the lower right corner. Yeah. If you're watching this when it was uploaded directly after, maybe it's not because you play alpha if you think my game looks different. Alright, so here we have her in a nice little cut-through view. So, what should we be able to look at here is the general spaces we have available. Obviously, to turn and tilt to different directions, we'll need to use azipods, just like Martin has here. And we are also needing some up propellers to up props, we call them, to basically control pitch, yaw, roll, and stuff like that. And the further away they are placed from the mass, center of mass, which if we remove here, you can see this is the center of mass. This is the point of the center of mass. Anyways, we'll need to have it as far away as we can from that point to make it as efficient as possible. Now, theoretically, we could also have jet rollers in the top of the superstructure, but that feels kind of jank. I don't think it adds to anything really. We're gonna keep it in the water as it should be with a ship. Here we can see also the area where we have some propulsion back here. So this is of course an area we're going to work on. We're going to fix those engines providing the forwardmost thrust, just so that it will be able to output a good speed. Indeed. And if you're wondering how to do this, click the end button on your keyboard. Finally, you have a use for it. If you didn't use it already, now you can use it in From the Depth. Congratulations, you have unlocked another key at your keyboard. Gmodism, that sounded a little bit retarded, but okay. Huge thanks to all the commissioned officers in the army of Gmodism and our YouTube members for the monthly support. That support really helps me making these kinds of videos. And most notably then, Commodore Owen, Captain Shiro, Commander Morgan, Lieutenants Anto, Cravey, Dri Kanto Betta, yes, Flaus Dagon, Harbag Reed, Vincent Veristas, Rick Prohl, and Scoob Rocks. Your support really helps, and of course, to all of the YouTube members in the Ecclesiarchy. One of you said that it would be very nice if Martin would see this battleship upgrades when it's finished during some stream or something like that, and see his reaction. And that would be absolutely amazing. I don't know if he would do that, but I guess when it's live next time, we can try and tell him about that the project is ongoing, and it's a little bit different time zone than mine, of course. So if you happen to catch such a stream by Martin, perhaps you could be telling him that there is an ongoing upgrade project of the Ultra Yamato, and see if he's interested to see what it's about. In any case, we are going to replay some blocks here. We're gonna have some 4-meter armor, because the 4-meter armor tends to be a little bit more stable. This is of course rather for a later episode about armoring, but since we have it right here in front of us, we might as well just fix these few little blocks and add them here to add some survivability. Inside of here, you can see we have these long rods going out of there, which is nice. And then we have, of course, a transmission. They are still in here, so the transmission is set to the highest ratio as it should be to get the highest amount. And we just got some shifting gears to be able to place the engines up here, just as Martin placed previously. So that's nothing changed with that. Now we're going to start and work on the engines being added here. And we're gonna add in some interesting redundancy systems. I do, however, feel, let's see here, I think, yeah, this is pretty interesting. You see, usually we can add a little interesting redundancy thing wherever that is. Unless it has been removed, it should still work. We can basically daisy chain together these shafts. So we can have 4 separate engines and then daisy chain them together. Now, the thing is that we'll need to do a little test here. I think we have to use like parallel pistons to get the max speed, which I feel is more important that we manage to get that. But just for the sake of it, I imagine we should be removing the symmetry plane and test some serial pistons as well. And then we can compare like the output of them, basically. And you like, yes, thank you. Oh my, I just realized I mixed together the large transmission and the gearbox. You know, that happens. So that's why it didn't work. But then I also realized, right, we can like have several of these transmissions, and you can further increase the RPM. Now, that's how it was before, but I think I remember they kind of removed that. I'm not sure though, so I thought that perhaps I'm gonna continue with this little system here so we can test what the maximum RPM is. Let's just have a resting force of 1. Oh, okay, look at that. Yeah, okay, they removed it completely. Good to know. So then we should just remove that extra transmission. But before, you could have even faster steam propellers. I find it useful to test things sometimes that I think I know, but you know, sometimes things change. So if we just test some stuff back and forth and see if they still are as they used to be, it can be a very nice way to catch changes. Because sometimes a feature is removed and then it's backed, like added back, like half a year later, and then you might be super confused why it doesn't work as it used to do. I just realized I rarely use the large shaft bearing due to added cost and space, but in this particular case, for the Yamato, I believe it is definitely worth it to have it, because inside of here you can see we have this little tube here. If we instead have this, it might be twice as tall, so it's twice as likely to get hit. It also has a lot more health, actually double the health. And look, another case. I used the see, this is the medium shaft bearing and this is the large shaft bearing, and obviously they don't fit together, because why would they? Then it wouldn't be as hard, you know. The funny thing is that some stuff fit together very well, however. Like, for example, I power these huge steam engines with tiny boilers right now just for testing purposes. It looks so stupid. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we may be a little bit sideways currently. Anyways, when it comes to piping and shafting, if you know what I mean, in this game, it's good to be a little bit minimalist. Now, this is of course a very important feature of the Yamato, so we will not we're not gonna mess with this, obviously, but it's good to know that when you're trying to build things that shall survive, it can be a smart idea to try and just use a little less of it if possible. Also, this is a little cool thing we can have. Here's the 2-meter sealed shaft. This thing actually allows us to place a block between here. So we can now have it technically stand on a heavy armor block like this, because this sealed shaft goes through it. Now, I don't think it will matter very much in this particular case, but good to add cool and strong things when you can, I would think. Now, they're usually used to attach propellers like that, but I think this one works too good. So we can at least have a block that looks the same like what it stands on. Like that. Much better. But we are obviously going to add this to this closed off section though, because we want it to be as good as possible. Now we should be setting up this little engine test here. So we're gonna have some boilers here, and we're gonna swap out one of the engines to a serial one, and we're gonna see if it still outputs max speed. If it is able to do that, it will do it in a little bit more what to say, efficient manner. So now we have these spinning up like that, very nice. And since we have connection points all along the way here, we should just be able to turn off the symmetry plane and use a serial piston. See where the arrows are pointing. They're pointing that way. So like this. You can easily look the difference between serial and parallel pistons, that the serial pistons are kind of, they have a little input on the top, and the parallel pistons are flat-headed. All right, so we're gonna set up this thing. We're going to set power creation to 0 actually, which might be a little bit strange, but if we do that, it will only be doing output for thrust, not generating power also, because the gearbox gives us power that you can see in the lower right corner here. You can see our 2 million engine power there. Anyhow, we should be checking this one there. We have a thrust. They seem to have the same thrust here. No problems at all. And if we check these stats, you can see this one, all right, is able to give that to a cost of 15 materials per second, which is an improvement, I think. And this one is 24 material per second, and we have a thrust of 180,000 there, 180,000 there. So we can obviously see that in this case it might be worth it to just have a serial piston instead for the sake of efficiency. Now, however, there is a little fun thing here we need to try, and that is that it's possible that we can add even more cylinders, thus making it more energy friendly. Yeah, also cheaper to run, which is of course a good thing when we want it to work in campaign, something like that. And we can see when we have this little setup here, we have, oh yeah, get that. And then we're using very little. So if you use 3 stages, stuff tends to be efficient enough. 4 stages may be optimal. But we can see here that, yeah, we can still output the same thrust there. That's good. Sometimes you can limit the output speed a little bit if you have too many parts, because it will be a little bit slower, the entire structure. But now we can see we are burning 13.9, we're burning 15-ish there, 16 I think it was. So I think we should have a 3-stage serial piston engine for all of them. And then we're gonna daisy chain them together, I feel like, so we can have some real efficiency there. That could be a pretty cool thing. We want to use as little piping as possible. The steam valve has an EMP susceptibility, so that can be an expensive way. You may suddenly lose your engine power. I'm thinking perhaps we should put the boilers in this funny configuration, making them actually show less side to the enemy and thus less likely to be shot down. All right, this is the strangest thing ever. I don't know why this doesn't work. Look, I even tested to have them like this, and now they work. All right, I don't know if that's a bug or a feature, because the output of that pipe should obviously be where it's at. But whatever, I guess we'll just have them this way then. They're still pretty, decent. So now we need to check if how many boilers do we actually need. I think this should be enough. Probably be more than enough. So now we have a optimally set up engine for them. So now I'm thinking we should daisy chain these together just to add a little bit of redundancy. We're gonna check the values here and see that we don't damage anything in the process of doing that. But essentially it will make it a little bit harder to kill the forward propulsion like this if we do this. So we're gonna continue using this color, of course, because it looks nice, it looks golden. We're gonna tweak the color a little bit so it looks more golden, because it's now a little bit too yellow, I think. I think like here could possibly look good, yeah? And then we'll need to open up a little area here to be able to fit this piece. Now we'll need to do like this. Crank wheel, we are connecting it, great. And this one, we are connecting it. And this one, let's see if we can, nah. Well, that's probably fine. So if we are staying upright, we can see if we are actually meeting our full thrust still. It's a little bit hard when we get out of the water here, but it seems we indeed are. So the cool thing is that if this breaks for whatever reason, we'll still have thrust from this propeller with a little bit of a limited output naturally, but that's pretty cool, you know? Separate engines daisy chained like that. We'll need to add some decoration and cool looking things to this so it doesn't look jank, but instead looks like a cool feature. But for the technical aspect of the sides here, I would say that this is indeed a pretty decent engine setup. Now, if these boilers get hit, obviously they are gonna cause some fires, which is not good at all. We can place them on a little stone platform there. We might actually surround them a little bit with stone to limit the fire if they start burning, so they don't hurt the rest of the engine. But it's not gonna spread so far actually that it is a problem. So we better just, yeah, we're just gonna defend them from the sides using pretty strong armor. We don't need to have some crazy fire protection in here. I changed my mind about that. That's not needed. It's actually probably just wasted materials, to be honest. Anyways, they're gonna have some stone boxes here anyways, being at the outer of it, because stone is one of the best materials you can defend against kinetic damage. Something like the Gimlet Arqueballista Invictus system could of course snipe these out, but they shoot down things in so many meters of heavy armor. They are specifically built to not be able to be armored against in a decent way. And that's of course why it's really hard to do it. So that's a good thing to keep in mind, that when it comes to rail-assisted kinetic APS, you shouldn't even try to defend against it, because you're gonna spend more materials doing that. We're gonna move into some maneuverabilities inside of here, and this is a little box which we are going to utilize for our purposes. So we are going to basically we're going to insulate this box against damage. This will be a little kind of extra AI box, you know, where we're going to have some auxiliary AI systems, basically, which is very nice since we want a freestanding roll pitch altitude control system, which I happen to have ready as a prefab. We'll need some rubber insulation inside of here, as I think I shown you in the earlier little episode. This is the type of insulation we're gonna use, so it's easy visible what's inside of here for us when we are removing the structural blocks. This looks better. Sometimes that decides. Or in my case, maybe a lot of the time, but some people only build visual, some people only build functional, and some people are somewhere in between, but I tend to take too many important decisions at the aesthetical side. Right, so here they are. Blocks Systems LLC, Roll Pitch Altitude Auto Control System with PIDs. I like to have my role play-y made up company faction names and stuff like that, if you're wondering what all that name is about. So right now we don't quite really have a altitude to go towards, so this won't be used right now. Here we have pitch and roll, however, and to use these we obviously need pitchers and rollers. So let us add that. We're gonna use some big steam parts doing that. It's going to obviously take engine power to have that system installed, but that's also why we upgraded and fixed the engines. So we have the steam, but on the steam we have a large crankshaft. I feel that we should probably use the 5 one. That should probably be better. Basically like this. Here we have a little propeller inside of there, and we have this big heavy armor. And to make this propeller even work, we need some other steam parts. They have this large crank motor, which basically we can utilize to output engine power to control a steam propeller wherever we have it. And providing we actually have one of these, a little crankshaft. That's a little bit unfortunate. Now we have a little bit crammed space here, so we'll get into some issues here in the center roller. See how this roller is faring. Yeah, this is also kind of a little bit... Well, I guess we'll just need to elevate this energy generation system to clear up prefabs very easily. It's so easy that you can just take the prefab, you can kind of load it in, and then you can load it back. So you can delete it and load it back in, and then you can place it again. And when you do that, ta-da! You just removed the right amount of blocks. So then we can basically add these to the rest of them like that. And we have set up that. Inside of these propellers, however, we're going to set it to manual control and roller preset. That will be the way to do it. If you use automatic control, it won't really... Yeah, you might get into some issues there. So that's... It kind of gets overused, and when you use the automatic control, it's kind of tended to output too much power all the time and never kind of chill out, which is really annoying. Anyways, when we set this up here, we can just copy and paste them to the same stuff on the sides. And here we can see we're having some rollers, and this should help keep the Yamato level. Obviously, we have this big rudder in the back, and that needs a little bit more force to even this out. I've been adding some more stuff here. I'll just wanted to show you a little bit what we've done here. I made this little very practical little template thing. So here I installed some pictures just under the engine here. So we're gonna set these up here. Actually, we can do that right now. We just click picture preset. Make sure it's on manual control and picture preset. Since we want a powered floating mechanism, just to make sure it stays on an aesthetical level and that it well, can survive longer, because ships that are sinking are of course dying. We want to mostly rely on passive float, but it can be a good idea to have active float as well as a kind of backup. Well, that's my reasoning at least. So I went kind of crazy here and added a lot of vertical propulsion and more rollers, because having this large rudder makes us really roll very hard. So we needed a lot of roll to counter that, which is fine, because I kind of like the aesthetics of that propeller sitting there as well. And I like the exposed ones here. And honestly, I feel the rudder that the Yamato has right now, I think it's too small. So I wanted to have some leeway for that. Also, we talked a little bit about vertical. Here we got some vertical ones. These are also vertical ones. I tried to set them close to center of mass. We had some limited places we could place them inside of here to not collide with any stuff that we can't move, because we'll change it too much. You might be wondering what this little setting inside of the crank motor here is. That has the RPM factor to 2. You can set that lower, you can set it to 1 or something, and the propeller will not provide as much thrust, but it will actually be more responsive. So if you need fast responses, like it's changing the direction pretty fast, if you have a smaller ship or something like that, it can be a good idea to set it lower. So I checked around a little bit with some settings here, and I thought it was pretty cool that Martin used some azipods. A lot of people don't use them. Unfortunately, you can see that all of the azipods, they're looking at the same way. So like these azipods back here, they are like turned to this direction, and the one in front are as well. So you see the propellers here. I don't know, I can't show it in a better way. It's like so far away. you can see they should be moving perpendicular to each other, but they are not. They are synced. This means that when you set up azipods in this way, it will basically strafe rather than turn. So this is one of the reasons the Yamato's maneuverability is so bad. To be honest, it's really bad. And so we'll need to reverse the ones in the front, of course, so that we can have better turning rate. I think the azipods that Martin made is pretty cool. I mean, they look pretty cool, but they are not very good. They have two issues. One of the issues is that they are too easy to destroy for what they are. The other issue with them is that we kinda need to set them to be double strength. When we have azipods like this, we have limited space to put them to not make things look stupid. And if we want like speeds that are reasonable for this ship, yeah, we'll need to actually make them twice as strong. So I'm going to remove all these azipods and make my own azipod system to put there. Also, another thing that's smart, which I put here, is to have a little heavy armor block they stand on, so they don't get shot off if they, just get hit by something. Anyways, we have some pictures here in the back too. I think I need to show them. And I couldn't help myself to start working out with the hull shape, which is not this video, so I left the other side so we can see that later. Yeah. Anyways, these look nice now, so that's a good thing. Oh yeah, and about other things with hull shaping, this little bulbous bulge in the front of the ship, we're gonna put a torpedo launcher in there. And you may have already voted on what the shape should be. I gave you a lot of options. Not. Then I had another vote which actually has an extra option. And that seems to be winning right now. So it's possible that the Yamato would be a little bit more decent and will actually expel mini Yamatos from the front. But that's for a future episode, so we shouldn't talk too much about that. Another thing, however, which I kind of realized we're gonna put here, that is some turning propellers. So this is a pretty neat area we can put some turning propellers in. This is something we are absolutely going to do. So we can have 2 of them here to be specific. And then we can add just some support beams like this. So we'll just have some huge propellers, which are not very huge, but there we go. And there we go. We're gonna set this to a manual control and be a turning thruster. And this thing is lagging so much. I feel like we should go here to extra configuration and just turn off all the visual effects for the propellers. I really feel we should save some FPS if we're able to, because yeah, we really should, because it lags too much already, and yeah. I just set up some little test here because I didn't remember exactly what the thrust potential was. But here we have a medium little steam propeller connection, which can use 600 power at max. And here you can see this little thing. It's producing up to 36,000 thrust, which is nice. And this one is producing up to 10,000 thrust. So since we have the space here, we're gonna install some turners down here as well, but we're gonna make them medium steam like this, since we have the space to spare. It kind of goes the same way. I'm gonna go back a bit there. And it's like always the weird thing. Need to look at the direction. Yeah, that's fine. We can have a 3-meter propeller. By the way, what's like the RPM limit? We have like small ones as well. So I kind of wonder what if we used a 3-meter small one. You never know, because the medium one actually has a higher RPM. So if you use this one here, You can see the thrust potential is what? 43,000 compared to medium 3 meter, which is 36,000. How does that make any sense? And this one has a motor power use of max 200. I kind of doubt this will move up to speed though. I think we're just gonna test and set it to max drive. No, like a reset. Set it just to 1. Damn, this thing is slow. This is like a area where we actually need to turn down the RPM there probably. It's kind of weird though that this thing has a higher thrust potential. And good to know though, but then we'll need to have a dedicated like steam engine to set that up. Well, for these ones we should use the mediums, obviously, so we can get some decent thrust here. It's a little weird that you have to go to the R section to find these guys, but that's all fine. Please don't move it. I'm so used to where it's located. So then we just need to make sure that they are set up in a reasonable way. So you are a manual control, a turner preset. The automatic control in general is not like very good. We need to set this like for everything anyway. So I'm gonna turn off automatic propulsion for everything. When you do this, however, you'll need to make sure that you actually know what you're doing, because if you don't and you forget to set up stuff may not behave as you'd expect them to, is probably what I'm trying to say. Anyways, looks snug and nice, I'd say. I also kind of couldn't help myself here in the back, so I did set up a little 5 meter propeller here to help with some forward thrust. And this is, as you can see, a pretty large one. So basically all of the blocks surrounding this in a 5x5 pattern is actually just mimic blocks. The actual armor moved back a little bit so we can fit this thing here comfortably. It does give some decent thrust though, so I think it's definitely a good idea. So here we have a little propeller pod. We're not going to use this thing, but it's basically what we're trying to do here. This is a previous little propeller pod that I've made. Fun fact, you don't have to build them upside down anymore. That's like from the depth a lot of years ago. You can actually have them upright now, so that's nice. But I'm thinking we're essentially going to make a larger version of such of this kind of, you know, propulsion pod. One in the front, one in the back, then we can double the power output basically. I have designed this little azipod here. I'm thinking pretty happy with this little azipod here. Anyways, it is a pretty simple just system. I did do some magic, if you will, with some mimics and stuff like that. These are obviously not the actual ducts, because this size of ducts doesn't even exist. But we can do some fancy stuff like that. I think it's pretty nice. Actually, I can show you that. Inside of here, you kind of have this little thing where you can add like a mimic here. And this thing is actually mimic empty, and I checked the hide original mesh. So you can see this is a little armor block here. It kind of protects it pretty well. There is one above as well. And it's just check this box, and you know, that's how to remove blocks. Anyways, these are obviously set up as before. It will use max 8,000 power. This one is set to be, well, backwards like this. This one is set to be forwards, and they'll produce some decent thrust, I think. Just added this little thing here so it looks kind of decent. And yeah, I think we're gonna do that with this thing. So Control Shift X, I can just add stuff there, and I can check this hide original. And the funny thing is I basically added the same block back there. Something like this I think could look pretty decent. Maybe I wanted to cut through a little bit. Now this is not the design episode, but just some small tricks here and there I think can be useful to implement. Yeah, I'm gonna save this thing, and we're gonna put a lot of them all over the place. Oh yeah, and inside of here we have an angle control. We set it to rotate to angle, and here is like your left. So we have to set a decimal value. I think this is a pretty good angle. If you use more than this, it will slow it down a little bit. So yeah, it's just that. We're gonna go to subobjects mode and save this. There we have it. So now we're basically just going to spam this wherever they are already. You can see here we had one there. So we're just gonna add one back there. Since we have one like that, we might as well have one kind of there instead. Here in the middle, I'm not sure I actually need that one, but I guess we can add one in the middle just for the sake of it. Just need to make sure these thrust output aren't blocked. If they're too close, it would be a little bit blocked. So we're just gonna move to the front and fix those that were there. We only have two here. I assume that when Martin built this thing, I guess that some of the thrust results that he wanted to see may have not been seen, so maybe didn't add as many. But we're gonna fix this, of course, by going to angle control. And this is a negative value. So we're gonna reverse that to positive value. Same one with this side. And that's basically all we need to do. And the azipods in the front here are set up. Now, I do feel like since we went through the trouble of making this very beautiful pod, which I'm definitely going to use for other things as well. I'm pretty happy with it. We're gonna set it up here. Most of my azipods so far, they're kind of not at all like this. They're much more compact in design, and I didn't have one pre-saved with like 7 meter. So you can see that is a big improvement, and now they are moving and they are perpendicular, or should be at least. Added 2 more. Look at that, perfect. I just also realized that I didn't have the game sounds on for a while, so sorry about that if you thought something was missing. Sometimes I'm getting a little bit tired of the sounds, so I kind of tend to turn them off. We're just going to remove visual effects there again. Alright, I think that's pretty nice. Now I do really feel like we're going to just test the speed of this thing. See how fast we can... Oh, one thing more. This little rudder needs a little makeover. So we're going to shift delete it and just set up a better rudder here. This pivot has some better health, so we're gonna use this one. And to them, we can just add sections like this. The best way to shape these guys is to just go down here and find the little corner thing, like this. Like, not like that. That. If we have issues with roll, we might need to make it weaker, but yeah. Let's do a little test then, see how fast we can get this. Roll and pitch is automatically set up. Can we reach 45 meters per second? We can reach 42, it seems like. But if we do and try to turn, we can see our turning rate, as it's not fast, it's really not, but it's so much better than it was. if I look down here and just can start to turn, you can see we're spinning up here and doing a pretty decent little turn. Looking at this, the turn rate is actually acceptable for this size. It is, yeah, it's not fast turning, it's really not. We can make it better, but if we do that, we might sacrifice a little bit of its aesthetical qualities. So I feel that would be a little sad to do. The only thing we can do to make this go a lot faster without making it look super jank is hiding a lot of custom jet engines in the superstructure. But I feel like it might compromise the superstructure a little bit, and I think we can put up a poll on that on the YouTube actually. So you can get to decide that a little bit later. I'll see if I remember to do that when this video goes up. We can make them be hidden, yeah, but you know, it comes with some other issues like flammable containers and stuff like that. But we can make it go a little bit faster, but it goes significantly faster than it did before. So, and it's significantly more maneuverable. Now, we haven't finished the armor yet, of course, but it works pretty well now with the engine power and all that. So far, I think it looks pretty darn good. And yeah, it works pretty well. Naturally, there are mega cheese ways to make things go faster as well, but I don't quite feel like we should be doing that. It's like a lot of you think I should put the mass-driven APS clip nuke gun on this thing, and it's like, yeah, we can do that, but then it's no longer a legit design. Then we might as well add some Lua search and destroy teleport to enemy AI nukes, you know? You can just cheese stuff and make it not fun anymore. And I want this design to be legit, you know? I want it to be a proper, legit battleship that actually is good. Yeah, so probably not, yeah? Anyways, I think this will be a good, nice upgrade for maneuverability. And I think we need to compare it to the Yamato in the end. The speed and everything, because we can't really do that now. It wouldn't be fair, because we are going to add a lot more weight to this thing as well. Well, it is looking pretty cool, that we have to say. It did before, but it still does. Well, I do hope you enjoyed this little refit so far. If you want to check back on this little series, remember to subscribe so you'll get them in your feed. Up here we have some other channels too. Both Relaxism and Gmodist actually has some From the Depth content, so if you're here for From the Depth, you might want to check them out as well. And if you want to support the channel and get early access to videos, you can join the membership, the Ecclesiarchy of Gmodism below. In any case, I'll see you next time. This is your host, Eric of Gmodism, and I'm signing out.